I presume you're here in order to learn of Magecraft. I'll have you know, there's no room for the weak-willed in this course, and despite your best efforts, the sorcery of our time is but a fraction of what it once was in the Age of Gods. Much of the craft is established through pedigree, and the culture of mages is riddled with deception and moral depravity. That said, if you insist, I shall do my best to educate you in this miserable, yet fascinating world. In our previous lesson in Magecraft, I covered the existence and proliferation of mana, both as it comes from the planet, and the ode generated within our own bodies. That lesson noted a contrast in how vastly different some mages are from one another in terms of raw ability. Two major factors play into why. Such is the topic for today's lesson, the importance and application of a mage's magic circuits, as well as how a mage family passes on its talents in the form of magic crests. Much like our own nervous system, a mage's magic circuits spread throughout them and serve to convert their life force into mana. With keen knowledge of this, mages have been able to control their own circuits to manipulate the world, performing mysteries, or magecraft. Simply put, anyone without proficient magic circuits cannot practice thaumaturgy. Under normal circumstances, a human could not command the laws of nature, instead being but a victim to those laws. Therefore, magic circuits defy physics, being attached to a person without belonging to the material world. Rather, the part of us where said circuits reside is the soul. In previous lessons, I have spoken of the soul and how mages like Zokenmato are able to extend their lifespans by transplanting their souls from one body to another. In that regard, the soul can be thought of as an astral blueprint of the body, containing its memories and mind, with astral simply referring to the immaterial part of our world. With the exception of a soul's tendency to rot over time, the soul is considerably more everlasting, and it's upon the soul that the magic circuit is etched. When we manage to physically observe the circuit, we are merely observing the point of contact between the soul and its vessel. This very sight has led some to believe that circuits are actually a part of a mage's body, which is certainly misleading. In truth, however, these circuits only manifest physically when accessed through the human brain. Thus, so long as a mage's brain is able to function, their circuits can be accessed even after the rest of their body is incapacitated. To our dismay, the quality and number of magic circuits mages possess are determined at birth. Much like our own genetics, one does not simply grow more, though they certainly can be irreparably damaged. As such, mages of ancient heritage often have superior circuits, while more ordinary bloodlines risk their circuits weakening with each generation. In most cases, humans aren't likely to be born with magic circuits in the first place. Just like breeding, the quality and number of magic circuits a mage is born with comes down to pedigree. That said, mages can excel with either quality or quantity. For instance, Aozaki family heirs are born with fewer circuits at a higher quality, and their talents are certainly formidable. Of course, practices in Magecraft have allowed us to curb this hereditary limitation to a degree. Our previous lesson, in fact, mentioned such a technique utilized by Shiro Emiya and Rin Tosaka, in which Shiro was able to link himself and pull from Rin's circuits in order to conjure unlimited blade works. Technically speaking, Kirei Kotomine's circuits came as a mutation, a gift to reward his father's continued piety. Like all things, the possession of magic circuits comes at a cost. While they are critical for a person to be a mage in the first place, they aren't exactly pleasant. They are unnatural and conflict with the human body. Utilizing them can be excruciatingly painful and cause one's body to generate heat. As much of a boon as they can often be, mages have had this sensation exploited by hunters, such as Kiritsugu Emiya, who could track his targets with thermal sensors. Thankfully, when used properly, most of this pain comes from first activating circuits. By flooding mana through them, they effectively open for easier access. That is, unless a mage is unaware of this process. Shiro Emiya was improperly reared by Kiritsugu. Rather than tapping into his already opened magic circuits, He would reform them with each and every use. His daily training involved putting his life in danger to harness even the most rudimentary of spells. It was a mistake so outrageous that not even Reen was able to realize his struggle. Only his future self was privy to this handicap. Once opened, magic circuits become much easier to access. To invoke them, a mage simply needs a mental trigger, a cognitive visualization to symbolize their channeling. Shiro feels his circuits akin to the firing of a gun, the hammer slamming down, whereas Reen pictures a knife piercing her heart. The more immediate the trigger, the better, as mages with poor conditioning may be inadvertently trained to access their circuits only in times of danger or arousal. On average, a mage has approximately 20 magic circuits. Given the Aozaki's low circuit count, it's actually astounding that Toko managed to have this many. Reen, of more exceptional birth, has 40. Shiro is in many ways lucky and unfortunate. He could have been born without circuits, like most ordinary people, but instead he happened to have 27. While this is above average, the quality of these circuits is devastatingly poor. They have low capacity and can easily be damaged if stressed too far, which given his temperament is frequent. The last point to note about circuits is that they aren't the only way for an individual to harness mana. In the case of Artoria Pendragon and Siegfried, both entwined with the blood of a dragon, have what's called a magic core. The blood within them serves as a mana-generating factory. Other mystic codes have the capacity to serve as mana reactors, such as Prelati's spellbook, which tragically fell into the hands of Gilles de Rais. While a mage's magic circuits determine their innate potential, wiser, more prestigious families think not only of themselves, but of their descendants. Any one mage can be quite gifted and talented on their own, but compounded over generations, mages have the capacity to grow ever stronger. This is thanks to what is called a magic crest. Essentially, a magic crest is created when a mage engraves their own magical circuits onto their body, serving as an archive of their accomplishments. Unlike the circuits themselves, a magic crest can be transferred from one mage to another. This can supplement the number of magic circuits available to a mage, as well as pass on knowledge of certain spells, making them easier to cast. The more frequently this is done, the vaster the knowledge and potential of a family's later generations. For example, Reen Tosaka's magic crest is on her arm, and from it she inherited sub-circuits, each providing her 30 more to access. The fundamentals of her jewel Magecraft, as well as spells like Gundo, can be quickly accessed directly from her crest. Ultimately, this means that over half of Reen's magical capacity comes from her crest, which is amazing when you consider that she is already a biologically superior mage from the get-go. I hope this conveys just how important crests are. This vast potential more than justifies the strain involved with transferring them. Indeed, a magic crest can be transplanted in much the same way as an organ. In both cases, the genetic compatibility between donor and recipient is critical. Kairi Shishigo struggled with this, as he was rendered sterile, unable to produce a biological heir. He tried to pass his crest onto his adopted daughter, which caused her to die during the procedure. Ideally, a magic crest should be transferred in small portions over time, but that is not always an option, especially when a mage is killed. Such is the case for Reen. Her father, Tokiomi, due to the risk and outcome of the Fourth Holy Grail War, needed to expedite the transfer. While this succeeded, it continues to cause Reen pain, until she grows accustomed to the crest in maturity. She relieves the pain through the use of specialized medicinal herbs, which carry an unpleasant odor. Reen, self-conscious about the smell, masks it with perfume, a secret only divulged to her most intimate partner. Another downside of the magic crest is that it can only be transferred to one candidate. This becomes an issue with prolific mage families that produce many children. Coveting a family's crest has led to vicious internal feuds, or more tragically, cases like Sakura, who was adopted out of the family so that both Tosaka daughters could receive a crest of their own. In summation, all mages are born with magic circuits engraved in their souls. These are the mana pathways that allow mages to cast spells, and are generally determined by genetics and pedigree. How these circuits develop from generation to generation either makes or breaks the continued survival of a mage family. The only other controllable asset is a magic crest, the storing of mana in the form of shapes and sigils. While difficult to pass on, no one can deny the usefulness of crests in establishing a dominant mage family. Lastly, the practice of gathering and passing on a magic crest shares roots with another branch of Magecraft, rune spells. As such, I feel that covering runes will serve as a convenient segue into the various branches of Magecraft I aim to cover in further lessons. Thanks for watching! If you enjoy this channel, help me beat the algorithm by liking, commenting, and sharing the video, subscribing to Otaku Daikun, and most of all, smashing that notification bell as if it were your waifu. That way you'll never miss out on all of my anime content, lore videos, live streams, and Holy Waifu Wars polls. My vids are struggling to get featured, so that bell is absolutely critical. If you want to support me directly, check out my Patreon, or consider donating via Super Chat. And as always, celebrate your fandom.